They called them failures. They stamped red Fs on their report cards, handed them pink slips, and sent back rejection letters stuffed with polite lies. But here is the truth. Every one of those people carried that same scarlet word, failure, on their shoulders until they flipped it over and made it spell legend. Think about Albert Einstein with his wild hair and tongue sticking out, Oprah smiling from magazine covers, J.K. Rowling waving to thousands. What do they all have in common? They were told you'll never make it, and then they turned the world upside down. This is not just a list, it's a reminder. Every loss can be the seed of a comeback. Stay with me. In the next few minutes, you're going to meet 10 ordinary people who were called dumb, broke, or hopeless. You'll hear how teachers dismissed them, how bosses fired them, how publishers slammed doors in their faces, and then you'll watch the exact heartbeat where everything flipped, the moment failure became rocket fuel. If you've ever lost, if you've ever been told you're not enough, lean in. Because this list is not entertainment, it's a cheat code for comebacks. And if you've ever dreamed of proving the world wrong, smash the like button and keep watching. Albert Einstein, the boy who couldn't tie his shoes at 10, the kid who stumbled over his own words at 3. Teachers marked him as slow, hopeless, never destined for anything great. His headmaster in Munich wrote him off with one line: "He will never amount to much." He quit school like someone tossing aside a broken toy. But life didn't quit him. Decades later, that same boy rewrote the laws of the universe. E=mc2 wasn't just math, it was rebellion. It was every insult turned into pure fire. Einstein, the refugee chased by Nazis, scribbling equations on scraps of paper in Princeton diners, gave us relativity, nuclear physics, and the science that powers GPS in your pocket today. They called him a failure. The world remembers him as genius. Jim Carrey. Picture a 15-year-old kid in Canada, sleeping in a van with his family, wondering if life would ever give him a break. He worked nights cleaning factories. He was dyslexic, labeled unfocused, not college material. Teachers told him to give up the comedy act, but Jim didn't stop. For years, he bombed on stage at a tiny club called Yuck Yucks, night after night, silence and humiliation. Then one evening, on a lonely hillside in Hollywood, he wrote himself a check, $10 million for acting services rendered. He dated it 5 years in the future. 5 years later, after Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, that check cleared, from factory floors to Hollywood royalty, all because he believed when no one else did. Thomas Edison, Menlo Park, 1879. Reporters mocked his workshop and called it Edison's folly. Investors pulled out. Newspapers declared him a fraud. He tried 1,000 different ways to make a light bulb glow, and 1,000 times it went dark. Most men would have stopped after 10 or maybe 100. Edison pressed on, and on trial number 1001, the bulb stayed lit. That glow turned into the first streetlights, the first electric homes, the birth of the modern world. When asked about failure, he said, "I didn't fail, I found 10,000 ways that didn't work." Every dark attempt was just another step toward light. Benjamin Franklin, born poor in Boston. At 10 years old, his family pulled him from school because they couldn't afford it. He cut candle wicks in his father's shop while his teachers shook their heads. He'll never master Latin, he'll never be a scholar. But Franklin taught himself. By candlelight, he devoured books, studied 5 languages, invented bifocals so he could keep reading. He built the first public library so everyone else could learn too. He became a writer, a publisher, an inventor, a diplomat, and one of the founding fathers who signed the Declaration of Independence. The dropout with no future gave the world electricity, democracy, and wisdom that still shapes America. Bethany Hamilton, 13 years old, chasing waves on the beaches of Kauai. Then, in one heartbeat, a tiger shark attacked and took her left arm. The headlines said her career was finished, but Bethany wasn't finished. Just 1 month later, with one arm, she paddled back out into the waves. Within a year, she won the National Surfing Championship. She didn't just surf again, she became one of the best. Her story isn't about a shark. It's about courage, resilience, and the kind of spirit you can't cut away. She turned tragedy into triumph, and today, she inspires millions to never back down from what they love. Jack Ma. In China, he failed the college entrance exam not once but twice. He applied for 30 jobs and was rejected from every single one. At KFC, 24 people applied. 23 got hired. Jack Ma was the only one rejected. People laughed at him, said he wasn't smart enough, wasn't capable enough, but he kept dreaming. He saw the internet rising and built a company from his tiny apartment. That company became Alibaba. Today, on Singles Day, his company makes more money in 24 hours than Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. The man who couldn't even get a job frying chicken now employs hundreds of thousands. Failure wasn't the end, it was the foundation. Winston Churchill. He lost elections. He lost leadership positions. And behind closed doors, he battled depression, calling it his black dog. Many wrote him off as unstable, finished, politically dead. But when the world needed a voice, he rose. As bombs fell over Britain, Churchill's words held a nation together. He reminded people, "We shall never surrender." And he didn't. He led Britain, and arguably the free world, through its darkest war. The man who fought shadows in his own mind gave light to millions. His failures built the strength that history now remembers. Marie Curie. In Warsaw, she wasn't allowed to attend university because she was a woman. In Paris, she was denied laboratory access because they feared science might damage her fertility. Every door slammed, so she made her own path. She worked in a converted shed with no heat and no proper equipment, stirring radioactive substances until her hands bled. And out of that hardship, she discovered polonium and radium, opening the door to nuclear physics and modern medicine. She became the first person ever, not just the first woman, to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different sciences. They told her science wasn't for girls. She rewrote the laws of physics instead. J.K. Rowling. Picture a young single mother in Edinburgh, pushing a stroller with one hand and clutching a notebook with the other. She was broke, living on government assistance, and sometimes skipping meals so her daughter could eat. Publishers sent back rejection letters, dozens of them. They said her story about a boy wizard wouldn't sell, that nobody wanted fantasy anymore. She cried, thought about giving up, but kept writing in coffee shops with her baby asleep beside her. Finally, one small publisher said yes. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone sold a few hundred copies at first. Then word spread. Today, J.K. Rowling's books have sold more than 500 million copies worldwide. The woman who was once too poor to heat her apartment became one of the most successful authors in history. Rejection didn't bury her. It raised her into legend. Michael Jordan, high school, North Carolina. Sophomore year, he tried out for the varsity basketball team. He was 5'11", still growing, but the coach cut him. Imagine the sting. The greatest basketball player of all time, told he wasn't good enough to make the team. He went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. But instead of quitting, he trained harder than ever. He played day and night, practicing every shot until the ball felt like part of his hand. 2 years later, he made the team. A few years after that, he was in the NBA, soaring through the air, redefining the sport. 6 championships, 5 MVP awards, 2 Olympic gold medals, and a legacy that turned his name into a brand recognized everywhere. The cut that once broke his heart became the push that made him unstoppable. They said he wasn't ready. He proved he was more than ready for greatness. These 12 stories prove the same thing. Failure is not the end. It's the spark. Einstein, Oprah, Rowling, Jordan, every one of them started with rejection, pain, or humiliation. They could have quit. Instead, they used every no as kindling for their biggest yes. So the next time life slams a door, don't walk away. Knock louder, kick it open. Remember, you're not losing, you're loading. Save this video, share it with someone who's struggling, and keep pushing forward. Your legend might be waiting right after your failure.